Hey y'all, what's going on? It's your girl Amaya Desire, and of course I have the boy Terrell with me. What up, T?
What's going on?
I know it's weird, right? The switch, it just happens, and then it's like,
Every time.
yeah. Anyway, hey guys, we're back. It's episode 4 for The Man Who Fell to Earth, and apparently Terrell has lots of questions for me. So I'm excited to see what you're gonna ask since I usually ask the questions. So this time you get to ask the questions. So this is episode 4 called Under Pressure.
Under pressure.
Yeah.
Uh, Crashing down on me. But
Oh my god.
hey, so yeah, like I said, we are back with a new episode of A Man Who Fell to Earth, like you said, Under Pressure, episode 4. This time we come back in right after the events of Faraday displaying his electromagnetic prototype, the quantum fusion. And we jump right in to a nightmare of Justin and a man that she knows and his teeth falling out of his face. This is a great way to start an episode, I would say. Um, but yeah, we catch a nightmare and he wakes up, and of course, they go into her waking up, and we see that the events of the show, the tech show, the book club is what they called it, are now being displayed about what happened with the power outage in London. Um, Before we move further into that, what did you think about the nightmare scene that occurred here? And did you think it was too graphic? Was it graphic enough for what display here? And who did you think that was in the scene?
Well, I mean, based on the scene, somebody romantic, right? Because she's
Yeah,
playing the piano with him and they have this look in their eyes, sort of thing. The teeth falling out, I didn't feel like it was overly graphic. I thought it was, I thought it was just,
um,
it was building a storyline. I mean, I watch horror films, so it ain't horror. It's just something that's happening in the scene. I think that they are just building us to give us more backstory on Justin's, life, which they do in this episode. Um, I think that overall, it's a interesting way to open the show because we only know certain part of Justin's life. So
right.
here we are in this episode where we're getting to know the backstory of her being the scientist. So I was excited that at least we got a little glimpse of what was happening with that.
Yeah, because right, you said we come into her character. She is shoveling radioactive waste for money, for her father, and that's kind of where we heard. And of course, we know she's smart, but we don't know, like I said, until this episode, how smart she really is, or like what she did. You know what I mean? Like as far as that. Um, but yeah, I can't do teeth, man. Like that's as far as body horror goes. You see me pulling teeth, I'm out. Like, I ain't watching it.
Hmm.
That was a
Okay,
little too much for
duly
me.
noted. I know how to
Yeah,
scare you for Halloween.
yeah,
Teeth.
it was on some candy man shit. I ain't doing it. So yeah, we wake up from the dream and everybody's trying to figure out who Faraday is. You know what I mean? He's the mystery guy who's bringing this mystery tech that that shut down London. Um, and we see that they come into him in the bathtub, looking on the internet for Thomas Newton. And as we found out, somehow, some way, because the CIA and everybody's involved, um, Thomas Newton has basically been scrubbed from the internet. Like he almost never existed, and now Faraday. And by this point, we should just change the show to from the Man Who Fell to Earth to Faraday and Friends, because that's basically what this is, right? Like, Thomas Newton said, I'm sorry, Faraday says that he's lost son of him and he's been scrubbed from the internet. Why do you think that they would go this far to remove Newton's like presence from Earth? Like if he was the big figure, he was rich, he was powerful, he had these inventions that changed the world. Why would they want to remove him from the archives from history? I guess.
In true CIA fashion, this is not even a question. This is the government. Like, I'm pretty sure in real life there is a Thomas Newton who is scrubbed from the internet every couple of days when it comes to the government. So, not surprised. I mean, they want to keep him under wraps. They know what he is. Furthermore, and if we're being honest, it's just like America to want to take credit and or buy out somebody else's ideas or
Right.
designs and whatnot. So Yeah, I mean, it played into a realistic version of what could really happen. So I think that it's not surprising once somebody has that much power, because that's really what it's about, is that he has a lot of power because he was so smart and intelligent, obviously based on the fact that he wasn't from here, and so he
Right.
had a lot to offer, but also a lot to cause chaos as far as stripping the government of the power that they have. Because if the people have it, what do we need the government for? So,
Oh yeah, and it's, as we now know that this prototype, this device, will destabilize the economy and the world as we know it if introduced. And they kind of go into detail to explain like that, whoever gets their hands on this is the end all. You know what I mean? Like, nobody or this, there's already like a kind of like a monopoly on what type of energies we can use in the world because of the economic destabilization, which is why you don't think that everybody's not using electric cars or an alternative fuel, because there's such a high use of gasoline and everything oil. We still have not let that fuel source go.
right.
So big reason of why this device would pretty much kill the market. um we also ride right into the episode, the segue, right into seeing what we found out is Edie's son and Hatch's nephew, a little bit of a cokehead here, you know,
Clive.
and he races home to tell mom, like, look, this is the real deal. It's not, not your paranoia about your brother trying to take over. It's nothing to do with him. This is legit. This does what it says it does. It's not a trick. What you think about the introduction of the nephew coming in this? Or I guess they didn't really tell you who he was until you see the interaction. But what did you think of his character just coming in, seeing him for the first time?
I mean, well, he's young, he's white, he's rich. It's
Yeah,
not, I mean, it's one of those things where that lifestyle is kind of normal, right? Speeding, taking drugs, type of thing. But as his
let me check
character
it.
builds in this episode, I understand his use of drugs, right? Clive is mortified of his mother, terrified, horrified, scared, petrified, whatever you want to call it. He is scared shitless of his mother. And I think that was just one of the ways of saying that he's also brilliant. I mean, obviously, the family is brilliant of some sorts. I'm not really sure. But I think that it was it's typical kid stuff. As far as like a privilege on the privilege side, because that's not everybody's life as a child. But he's a teenager. He's racing cars, or he's driving fast in a car, and he's doing drugs, and he's also thinking. So he's not completely like lost. He knows what he's doing, but yeah, he's. I think that it's interesting that she even has a child, but
Yeah, she seems like one of those women. Like, she's like a control freak. Like, everything has to be her way. You know what I mean? Like, she's very distrusting of people. You can see, and she expresses that multiple different times. She has to get to know you a certain way before she lets you in on anything that involves this business is her life. So she's just not about to let anybody into it, and it includes her own family.
yeah, seems that she is wearing the shield, got a lot of bodyguards, and she's keeping her armor up around people because whatever happened between her brother, that didn't really happen because
Right.
that's what she thinks, but he keeps telling her it's not true. I feel like after a certain point, you gotta really be doubling down on the story to like keep it going,
Gotta believe the lie.
and I think that at this point, Hatch has said like it's not true, and you really want to keep me as this villain in your head when it's really your dad or our dad. So, but for people who have sustained trauma and have more morphed it, not warped it, right, in their head, it can become something else that it wasn't actually, that didn't actually happen. So I'm not surprised that she might be struggling with whatever it was that she thinks happened.
All right. Jumping back just a little bit in the show, I did forget to go over the conversation with Justin and Josiah about the dream that she had. So I'm assuming this is obviously not the first time that she's had this dream.
Yeah,
Uh,
it looked like that. Like he said, I can't remember word for what he said, but he was just mentioning that, sometimes, we make mistakes
right,
and things do happen. So, which also led me to believing that Daniel was somebody that was important to her because
right.
obviously, her saying like, what if I can't do this? And, like just being really really scared, obviously it just meant that this man meant a great deal to her, and then of course she didn't want to see that happen, so we find out a little later on in the episode what did take place. But I think Josiah, being in his right state of mind, being able to encourage her and say like, hey, it's okay, like you got this, we all make mistakes, like just keep it going, like you got to keep it going. So
You know, at first I thought it was her brother. I thought that's what they were alluding at until the reveal. I was like, man, I watched this. I must have missed it. I thought it was her brother at first, but then they had the scene where like they were about to kiss. I'm like, okay, clearly that was not her brother. But
yeah, but even at the piano, it's a certain look that you get. Like there's a certain smile that a woman gives that shows romance versus like a more familial love.
hmm,
Yeah.
I have to look out for that look. So pretty much, we pretty much come back to your boy Clay and the whole CIA thing, and I cannot remember her name. That's working with him. That's where they
Lisa.
said it. Like, was it?
Lisa.
When it's Lisa. Oh, okay. So yeah, Lisa comes in and gives him the deets on like what's going on with that whole thing, and explaining, hey, Justin and all of them are involved, and she has a file, like a DOA or whatever the DOE file
DOE
that is
file. Yeah.
closed. But of course, this is no problem for the CIA because they can just do whatever they want to do. And keep in mind too, like they also at this point, they both, she comes into like, look, this is some alien shit. Like,
Yeah.
and he's like, okay, well, welcome to the club. Finally, now you
Yeah,
caught
she's
up, you're on
annoying
board,
though, but whatever.
right? Like now, because the CIA, clearly knows the existence of aliens. But she catches them back up to speed, and what happened, and this, that, the third. Then we get back into the conversation about this patent again, this 10th patent that's located in the vault, and they need to get it, and the only way to get that is to make this deal with his sister who can't stand him,
Right.
to get him. But she's already on his shit. She's sniffing him out and knows that something's up. He's not just coming here for whatever. He needs something. What did you think about just definitely seeing her more in the house, in the home, just seeing how she is and how she's interacting with him for this third time that we've seen her?
I mean, I despise her.
It's terrible.
I mean, I despise her as a character on the show. But it's not far fetched from how she's choosing Clive, right? Which is her
Mm,
child. So if she will choose her, if
same
she
here.
treats her brother a certain kind of way, or treats her child a certain kind of way, she'll be sure to treat anybody a certain kind of way, which she did further down in the episode because we see how she treated Justin.
Right.
So I think that she is going through an immense amount of trouble to keep up appearances that she's all good, that she's angry, that she's the big bad wolf, only to get bitched by Spencer when he shows up. So that was interesting. But I think, I think it's just for appearances. She's trying to maintain a look and she's trying to maintain that she doesn't need Hatch when really and truly, like he said, they need each other. So.
Right. Yeah, like I said, she was just for lack of being whatever on this, she was just being a bitch. And I don't know, like legitly, that's just the way she thinks. She's just in defensive mode, but just the way she just talks to people in general, I'm like, man, you're not gonna live a long life or acting like that out here. And like you said, that comment where he was like, you surprised she even had a son? Yeah. Tone that down. It's not that serious. um so we jump back into your boy Clay again after get the tip from Lisa, about Thomas Newton's previous whereabouts, and attract him to a farm, or I guess you would call it a recovery farm or whatever, way he meets a nun who apparently had came across Thomas Newton in her younger days.
Yeah.
and in the process of this, he winds up delivering a cow. Because why not? There's nothing else to do.
Yeah,
Who
no,
just says maybe you can help and let's
not it for me. Not
no,
it
man,
for me.
I got a suit on. I'm not doing that.
Mm-mm.
so so yeah, we get into the conversation with them and her revealing that yeah, she's like, no, yeah, I know Tommy, what's up? Like, and goes into, he was special, he was an angel, he was a miracle worker, and she now feels like she has to repent for her sins, and for whatever reason goes and messes with a beehive and puts the honey on her face and has the bees just stinging her up because now she feels like she has to repent, and explains that she knew the man had a wife back on another planet. She didn't care. She wanted to do what she had to do.
Mhm.
Gave him the alcohol, got him all drunk, did whatever, and they fell in love. What what did you think about that whole scene? Like, did this fit get weird to you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't know what was going on. Like, you think it was gonna be a bigger reveal, and of course,
Um, I thought she was going to die. One, because it's a lot
yeah,
of these things, and I swore a bee went into her mouth.
it did.
I just it was. I think that was probably the one scene that threw me off a lot. It just didn't seem like it fit the episode. I get what they were trying to do, but for me, it didn't. It wasn't very informative, shall I say, right? Because okay, you gave him alcohol and you because they don't even, I guess, yeah, it was just weird. The scene, it
Right.
was weird. And we don't really learn a lot about him outside of the fact that she does think he was a miracle worker and a sweetheart, so it was kind of a pointless scene for me. I think it was a little bit filler. I could have done without it.
Just I wouldn't say filler, but definitely a little bit more insight as to what the heck he was doing the last 45 years that he kind of abandoned the planet. And I think we get a. I mean, I also think this is one of the reasons why that he kind of fell so hard away from his mission was because he was falling for this woman. He was getting
Yeah,
drinking and
that's
stuff
true.
like that. And of course, Spencer gets this information, yada yada yada, and we jump back to the house where we have a whole deal going on because now they're trying to close this deal so they can mass fund and of course get to the figure out this patent that's in the vault that they need to reproduce the quantum fusion generator.
Right.
And we get the scene where Edie asks her to because her son says that, hey, Thomas Newton made music. And, of course, this sets Faraday off, and he wants to know where it is. She asks him to take him to the other room, and they go in the other room, and he pulls out a crack pipe. Oh boy!
I wasn't expecting that for sure.
Right,
I was expecting, him to offer Faraday a bump, maybe.
right. I might go, okay, cut it up. It's like,
But that was. I guess he had to get he. I guess he figured that he probably wasn't gonna do it, so the best way was to smoke and blow into his face, which then sent him on like a little bit of a spaz or a frizz out. And then we see him saying that like I can smell the spare on you. And who knew that little thing that I think was he not carrying the crack in that or something? I feel like maybe he was, or maybe he wasn't, but
no, I think he grabbed that first, and then he put it in his pocket, and then he pulled out the drugs, of course.
oh, okay. Yeah, I thought it wasn't weird, but I was hoping to see a little bit more as far as the reaction to the drugs to Faraday because this is just a skin, right? And he is not from here. So
Right.
I thought it would have had some sort of effect similar, not necessarily similar, but something to like when he was in the plane, his skin kind of bubbling or whatever have you, like shifting, trying to fall back onto his the host, so to speak. So I thought that was interesting, but I also did like that we couldn't really understand the message up until like Thomas Newton showed up in Faraday's like vision, to clarify what was being said. So I thought that scene was probably a very powerful scene, just in, of course, with Faraday saying like, "What is happening to me? Like, this is not something we do," and referring to crying.
Right.
So very, very. Very interesting. I thought that the scene would have been a little bit more intense with Clive, but once you're high like that,
Yeah,
I
they had a
don't think that.
whole thing with the horses. I'm like, okay, is
Yeah,
so yeah, like the message obviously was like was a recording using their tech, or the tech or whatever that he was using to record for his wife before he completely lost his marbles. And I think that as he's saying like, hey, you know, the longer I stay here, the more human he's becoming. The more he's losing himself. He's losing his memories. He could not remember his wife's name, the reason why he came there in the first place. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And you know, this is, you know, of course, mixed with the crack that just got blew in his face,
right,
is opening him up to emotions that his people don't experience.
right.
So he doesn't know how to handle it, and takes the spear and throws it at the window and breaks the window. I'm like, who's paying for that?
Well,
So
the window was already broken because the horse had kicked it, so it don't
why
even
the
matter
horse
now.
kick it? I was like, why was the horse even that close? Um, so like I said, I feel like that, like I said, that ties into the whole story with the nun, because we get a little bit more of, you know, why he was losing, you know, a little bit more of himself and becoming more human, drinking that gin. Because every time we see him, he's got a bottle or something in his hand. Even in like
Right.
the
Yeah.
episode 2, we see him drinking, and you know, he's been, we know for sure right at this point, he's been through a lot. You know what I mean? He's been experimented on. They've done, you know, AYZ, and done so many things to him to this point where it's like he doesn't even want to help these people anymore. He's just kind of like, but at the same time, they've taken away his resources to go back home and help his planet.
Right. Yeah.
Um, I thought definitely a good scene. See your boy Faraday crying, you know, tears rolling down his face, like what the heck is this? Trying to figure out what's going on. And of course, here comes Uncle Clay, letting them know, hey, you work for me. What's up? Like, I need you to. We about to make this deal happen. After she said it will never happen, because she couldn't trust her brother because she can't get over herself.
I'm
So,
surprised that he didn't ask more questions about her now wanting to do a deal that she just clearly stated she did not want to do and would never do,
right.
and asked that they, you know, escort them from the premises. Like, I thought that that was very interesting. I'm pretty sure that he has his curiosities and his concerns, which will come out later. But I was surprised there wasn't a little bit more pushback because this guy showed up and basically told you, like, we bitched your dad. He works for us. And so now so do you, which is crazy because how is it all of a sudden, however many years later, now we work for you? But before, you know, you didn't want nothing to do with us until this man and this issue, I guess, so to speak, pops up with Faraday. So yeah, interesting.
First of all, how he get there so fast? I,
Well,
I, I
well,
was like,
Lisa booked him a flight.
yeah, to
Well,
where
the private. No, she did say that the flight that a jet was waiting to take you. So he's not taking a regular flight like us normal people. He took a private jet, and he left straight from wherever he was with the cows and whatnot, and then came straight to London. I'm not surprised. I'm just surprised that nobody was questioning like who this man is except for Hatch. Like, who is this man?
well, the butler, whoever he is, he already knew what it was. So that let me know that I think that he probably had past dealings with his dad with the CIA. He already knew what it was. That's why he was like, "You need to talk to him." Like,
Right,
you know
right,
what I mean?
right.
But the timeline kind of was two different things. Like, you know, like obviously they're in two parts of the world. But like I said, it was just weird that he got there so quickly and enough time for that meeting. But yeah, like you said, he comes in and tells them like, you know, you about to make that deal happen. I don't care what happens. We need, you know, to meet his objective of finding Thomas Newton, because
Right.
that's all he cares about. You know, even though he has Faraday, who is an alien, right there in front of him.
But I'm confused as to why his mission is finding Thomas Newton. Like, did you guys lose him? Is he not dead? Because last time I checked, there was a video of you guys skinning him. So
Well, he got out somehow,
it's just
somewhere.
very weird. So interesting to see.
We also get, like I said, they talk about it earlier, but pretty much they almost allude to the end goal of this is to kill them both. what purpose does that serve? They about to help you out, bro. Like
Kill who? Faraday and Thomas
Faraday
Newton.
and Thomas Newton. Like have Faraday lead them to Thomas so they can kill them both.
Yeah, I've been knew that.
That's
Why?
stupid.
Because they're both powerful. Like what? Like we already know. We said this earlier, right? Like the power only can belong to but so many. That's just the way of the world. And so when the power is outside of their reach and control, they don't want anybody else to know about it, which is why they killed all the people that met Thomas Newton to begin with,
Mm,
right?
crazy. And then we after that, I thought the episode would be done after that. Just the way it was leading up. We come back to the table where they're finishing out this deal and discussing, the everybody what their cut is, and we get the reveal of what Justin did and who the guy was, which we found out was her daughter's father, which was pretty obvious at that point. And I'm not sure what I might have missed it, but he was sick or she was doing some type of experiment, untested experiment that wound up to him getting sick, and then high doses of radiation
Yeah.
that caused him to bleed out and teeth falling out his mouth, and they try to use that against her as the reason why that, of course, that deal wasn't about to happen. And
Right.
she wants her removed from the deal,
Yeah.
and your boy Faraday comes out and says this ain't happening without her.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
and,
I love that moment. I feel like it's a moment for the like you get to make a mistake and somebody still gets to stand up for you, which is
mhm,
actually true because one mistake doesn't define you, right? And so I thought that it was very interesting that Spence came in and was like, "Yeah, no, let's talk about Justin. Like, what has she done to you? Like, this project don't work without her. Like, you do realize like she is the brains mostly. So, as far as how to put things together and how to do, she's basically the other half of Faraday.
right,
So, of course, yeah, it's not gonna get done without her. But the idea that Edith came in thinking that she was about to lay some shit down and whatnot, like, no, ma'am, like we're not doing that. Very, very interesting. But I do like that Faraday stood up for her because I was wondering if Hatch was going to, like, whether or not he was going to say that this deal could not go through without her because she's the one that knows how to do what's necessary. So having Faraday stand up first and foremost for her was definitely a good look. Like, I enjoyed that. But and again, like I said, I'm just wondering if people were paying attention to the fact that Edith was now looking at Spence to make the decision to say like, can they do this? Like, can
right.
do you want me to do this? Do I have to try hard to get her out of here, or should we just let her stay? So, yeah, I thought that was interesting, but not surprising because she came off as Justin as if she didn't know what she was doing, especially after bringing up the fact that she was now, shoveling shit, as she liked to say. And
Right.
so it's like, well, ma'am, listen, I was smart before I got here to shoveling. You don't know why I'm here shoveling this shit, so mind your business. So yeah,
Yeah, it was a really good scene right there, like you said. And like Hatch, multiple people telling her like, "Look, we can't do this without you. You are the key." Hatch telling her like, "Look, I need you. You're the one making this work. You know what I mean? You're part of the puzzle here." But of course, everybody's questioning who the man in black is. Who's this guy?
right.
I mean, apparently Faraday's powers wasn't working because I'm like, okay, now you can't read people because you just hit that head you just did that hit a crack in the rim a couple minutes earlier.
Right.
Um, but anyway, they make the deal and deal with the devil to get this done, and then we wound up wrapping this up um, with Faraday and Justin
Justin.
talking about how he does need her. And she says thank you for speaking up for me, and there I think and this is the moment where I really put a note on too, is because you definitely see the difference in how he talks to her. He's starting to sound less alien, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
and he's starting to sound more. He's speaking from a place of emotion, like he's resonating with her, and I guess I really like that scene because the conversation was way more clear than any conversation they've had so far.
Right.
What did you think about that?
I mean, it was my favorite. It was my favorite part of the show, actually. Well, that and Justin telling Edith to kiss her ass, basically. But
Yeah.
so, I think that this was a moment of bonding for them, because he does not know what it feels like to cry. He doesn't know what it is to feel like all these emotions, and so for him to stand up to her after having that moment, inside the grandfather's studio and what have you. I think it was like dope for them to have that, and for her to just say thank you, despite like the rough patch that they have had in the beginning. And also for him to understand, like, I don't like, yeah, I get that you think that it was a bad thing, but let me tell you why it was a good thing. And let me remind you once again that when I first got here, I told you that my mission is your mission and we cannot
Right.
do this without each other. And so I really like that as the final piece of them coming together, because now it's like they are a team, they are one. And in order to get to one of them, you gotta go through the other. So I'm liking the direction that it's going in so far.
Yeah, like I said, it's really, 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 really good, man. I want to see some more alien stuff though, so let's queue up for that. But yeah, that was episode, and it ends there. Of course, we don't get a preview, so we don't know what's going to happen. But like I said, now it's time to get started on this device and see what happens there. Like I said, great episode. Episode 4, I can't believe we're 4 episodes in.
Yeah.
Seems like we so much further. Great episode once again. Do you have anything else you wanted to say on the show?
No, the usual. Like, please let us know your comments, your thoughts. Do you like the show? Who are you feeling? Who do you hate? Okay, because I hate a few people myself.
Definitely.
So just, let us know how you like the show so far. Are you excited for the remainder of this season? And yeah, until next time, per usual, we'll see you back here next week.
Episode 5 for Faraday and Friends. See.
Not fair to friends. Bye, guys.
See.